if I can get it to on the goddamn site, if all it does is live in nowhere, then it doesn't do me any good. He's like, yeah, we should have that up in 24 hours. And I just went like this.
Huh.
Can I get that on tape or something, please?
Right. Well, there was I actually went to a website to buy something. It was a camera site, and you couldn't order anything until Shabbos was over. Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies. I'm Rob Fulmer, the Director of Government and Community Affairs for the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Executive Director Andrew Baum. Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier.
Oh. Huh.
I couldn't
That's
even.
interesting.
Yeah, I said you could get Here's the thing that's weird. You could type in your stuff to get an email reminder as to when, that ended, which I think is, it's just as mechanical as a website order is, in some respects.
There's rules.
I guess.
Rules. So
I'm not familiar. I'm not.
So potentially they could hold that in a queue, but
Yeah.
not send it until it was over, and then that.
I think that's what a shopping
rules.
cart essentially is.
Yeah. And then there's the, the wire that goes all the way around New York City. It's the thing about Orthodox Judaism to stay compliant with the rules.
I get it.
It's
I never
interesting.
ran across it. I do know that my refrigerator, and I'm sure all new refrigerators, my refrigerator in Flagstaff has Sabbath mode.
Yes.
Sabbath mode.
What does it do?
I think,
Doesn't turn the light on.
I think it locks it.
Oh, no, mine doesn't do that.
I think. I don't know. Or it turns it off. I mean the water function and all that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. What are you doing?
Oh, so I got Wi-Fi on my refrigerator.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional.
Right.
It's just what it had.
Yeah. No, we have it too to send messages saying that it's time to clean your water filter. And
Yeah. I mean, I don't really need that, but here we are,
Yeah.
and I have it. So let's see. Oh, yeah, I haven't. It will tell me exactly what Sabbath mode does.
oh, it's dark over on your face.
Oh, yeah, lights are nice. All right, let's click on my fridge and then say control and then say options. Oh, no, that didn't help.
My washer and dryer in Flagstaff also tells me when it's done and when I should probably check the lint trap. Yeah,
I don't want any of that. In Sabbath mode, various functions, lighting and acoustic signals are deactivated to ensure those operating Sabbath are able to use the appliance on the Sabbath. Some lights may display the super freeze light at reduced brightness. So if you go grocery
Right.
shopping, you load all your stuff in there, you can hit super freeze and then it lowers it more. Anyways, that's what Sabbath mode does. Turns off lights and sounds.
right. Okay.
On mine. Yours might lock it, but that would be kind of extreme.
I don't know. I just saw it. I briefly read it. I didn't activate it, so there was no point. But yeah, I saw it on a website. And if you recall, there was a time when online sales were tied to the hours of operation for the sale of liquor in Arizona, and websites were supposed to shut down orders.
Ooh.
I think we averted that with some sort of gubernatorial action. Or it was in the early days, and like one guy complained or something.
I remember when you couldn't buy booze until 10 a.m. on Sundays.
Oh yeah, I
That was
remember
way back.
And you you would get to watch a football game and you'd have to sit there and drink orange juice for an hour or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. I guess it made Saturday super busy.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't happen as much anymore because everyone's got it on their phone or packages. But like, I remember going there and like, people would go there for 3 games and like eke out maybe breakfast and lunch, but like just sit there and order water after water after water after eating. Like, it must have been a terrible thing to work as a server.
Yeah, for sure. I know I was talking to a friend the other day who needed ice, and he said, I think I'm just going to DoorDash some ice. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
There's a grocery store like 5 blocks away.
Yeah.
And there's a convenience store like 2. I don't, it's just not me. That's all.
I was at
guess.
the Safeway, Fry's and Flagstaff, and there wasn't a single non-completely concrete solid avocado. They were all just like, so we had to Google ways to trick the fruit into, like, so we could eat it today.
Is it just a paper bag?
No, well, that's
And a banana?
that's 36 hours.
Oh.
Microwaving for 30 seconds, face down, or oven baking them slightly. But all it does is change the consistency. It doesn't make it more flavorful.
Right. It
As
just melts
ripeness.
some of those fats.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Wow. All
What
right.
a world. We've learned so much today already, and we haven't even started. Hey, Rob.
Andrew Bauman.
How you doing today?
Okay.
Good.
I was over the weekend or last week. I was really angry about Facebook.
Yeah. Deleting your post that
Right.
was non-controversial in any way.
I'm going to paraphrase because it was from the heart. I shared the Guild's link about Arizona Strong and how to buy tickets, and I simply said, this is the only fest that supports Arizona breweries, and that I supported you in particular in running this organization, and that the only way to give you a chance is to buy a ticket. And I just said, I believe in the mission, and this is the only way that people who believe in the mission can effectively do this job. And it was banned because it said it was spammy. And they said the technology, like they used the word technology when they really meant algorithm or artificial
The
intelligence.
AI looked at it and said, spam.
Right. So there's no like
Method of grievance resolution.
right, or question, or
Right.
I mean, like there's no there there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and among other things, unfortunately, it seems like this year and last year we have to understand which of the 8, 10, 12 billionaires we're going to participate in our lives in
In
the
commerce?
way that in the way that they see fit. So it's just super interesting to me, and it seems like all the grievances against billionaires in the past somehow have magically disappeared if they have a platform, a website, essentially. So, we do get a lot of communication, or I do for what I do, or I have in the past. I've used it to talk about what bills are passing and why it's important and what the next actions are when we were in that mode. But at this point, I'm kind of, going to limit my stuff. I think I'm going to start to close the circle, and I'm on Blue Sky, which started replacing what I would get out of Twitter. I still have an account on Twitter. I just keep it active because I don't want anyone to take it. And it's funny. I can go for a day. I can go for whatever. I come back and there's always a notification, and it's never someone wanting a conversation with me. It's just some random person that I follow, and they just want to highlight something, so you click just to keep you going. There was an article about people quitting. Obviously, TikTok is on. We can get to that if you want, but Instagram and Facebook. And Facebook, you have to actually deactivate and then you have to wait a period. And if you ever log in, they reset the clock on it. So that should tell you something.
I have dramatically reduced my social media personal side. I do run the guild social media accounts, so I'm still active on it that way. And that account ties to personal accounts, so you can't
Yeah,
deactivate your personal account and continue working. So, I mean, it's fine. I just don't go there.
yeah. That's the problem. It's tied to a person.
Although I have, in the last week, been better about consciously spending maybe half an hour, 45 minutes on Instagram and Facebook looking at events that our members have been posting. So I look at it on my personal account and I look at it on the guild account and I split that in half and I go back and forth to try and, get the best I can. But there's so much other stuff on there that it's so few and far between of the things that are actually useful. I feel like I have to start just unfriending or whatever the method is to stop seeing people's stuff so that I can just do my work stuff. I don't know. It seems like a lot of
I don't know.
hassle.
There's an X. I just hit the X. I know that it just hides it for temporarily, but
That works for ads.
Yeah. But like there are groups that keep coming up. I know that I didn't subscribe to. They just keep coming up. Short of blocking it, which I think is a little bit more involved, a couple extra clicks. I know we're talking about very
Mundane.
basic, yeah, but I mean,
Bullshit.
I just snoozing them for 30 days. I mean, I just go through and I just knock it out and I just look and see what's left. So it's just like anything. That was the method that everyone used to do things. And I know like there's this whole thing. Well, it's all boomers and it's all that's the bulk of our customers. They're not new customers. They're the customers that have gotten us this far. So say what you will about, we should be focusing on Snapchat and TikTok and all that stuff. That's fine. That's an argument, but they all have their flaws. But at this point, the way forward in getting our message out is probably not that. It's really not this. Let's be honest. It's not people listening to us for an hour a week, but it makes me feel good to say stuff.
Well, I mean, I think that we've mentioned before, this is just kind of an archive of what's going on. And we've never really had that in the industry before of a living collection of things that are happening. So this is kind of our attempt to help bring that to life. And
but it's also therapy.
it is. Yeah.
Therapeutic.
It's true. It's true.
So that was on my mind. The TikTok thing. It's funny that I talked to somebody and they had squarely missed an entire period where 4 years ago that president wanted it banned. They had totally forgotten. I said, hey, you remember when a bunch of K-pop people were brigading basically to take up all the rally tickets? That was on TikTok. And then that sent that candidate into we should ban it, and then we should sell it to an American company, i.e., how can I get my sellers how can I get my sellers commission, more or less. But it's fine, man. I mean, we're just choosing all of our data is insecure at this point. I mean, the whole thing needs just to be re-examined, and
Ask AI. They'll show you how to do it.
yeah. So I don't know, man. That's you can't sell beer on Facebook anyway. So like, where we stand is during the pandemic, we set up a store to sell things because that's what we were trying to do. For the life of me, no one can figure out how to deactivate the thing. There's no one to talk to about that. So we've been put in a box that we are a store that doesn't sell anything, and therefore, anytime we try to pay for an ad as to what we do, we get it denied. So
Because our store has not been successful, you can't advertise your store.
yeah. Yeah. So and it's just trapped in so many layers. Like there's like
I mean, I can still boost posts, so that's helpful.
yeah, but that's probably why as somebody who is an administrator on that site, it was probably why me actually even mentioning it was probably why, like, well, you have to pay us to boost it. Don't boost it on your own.
Oh,
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Could
So
be.
what's happening in the beer world on your side?
Oh, well, I mean, Arizona Strong is number one, what I've been doing for the last 4 weeks. Just working with suppliers that are going to be there having booths, what they want to do as their setup, and other people that are interested in being there. And then on the advertising and marketing side, doing everything we can to get the word out. If you're a brewery and you have a social media presence, please let people know you're going to be there so that we can sell more tickets. You can see more people. Everyone wins. Win, win, win.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
I'm looking forward to making some connections there. Just haven't been because of this job. I've been mostly on the political side and taking care of my family. So I don't get out as much. I miss that a lot. My pocketbook is feeling much fatter though.
Yes. I have committed this year to not buying any durable goods. So far, it's been a week. I've been successful. Consumables, yes. Experiences and time with people. Sometimes those cost money. It's fine. I'm not spending any money. I never said that.
Right.
But yeah, not buying new things and getting rid of things. That's the big thing for me.
Yeah, I've got a lot to get rid of. Got a whole separate house that my parents have that I got to go through, and we are doing that at our own house. We might be getting a different property here in town for some other relative, and so there's purging there. Be purging this office a little bit. It's not going to be.
It's a lot of purging. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as long as we're kind of on a mundane to negative mode here.
Yeah. What's up?
It strikes me that we have some pretty big issues that maybe you talked about with the Brewers Association. I missed that call.
Yeah.
To start it, there was the unsafe in any amount sort of movement, and you saw the Surgeon General literally say, I want there to be, this causes cancer warning on the can,
Right.
or on the packaging. That doesn't really have any legs because it's not something that the Surgeon General can just say. There has to be an act of Congress, so it's a little bit more complicated. But nevertheless, the sentiment is there. Let's talk a little bit about how that got there. And I have to probably do a little bit more research because the wonderful Dave Infante has sort of spelled this out in so many words. But the agency that normally handles the regulation of alcohol ceded that authority, and apparently you can't even FOIA this, like how that went down.
Oh.
But it was passed to the Interagency Coordinating Committee on the Prevention of Underage Drinking. Are people drinking more underage these days?
Wild, because everything in the data says their underage people are drinking less than they had, and even the young of age people are drinking less, and that's a trend that's been going on for at least 10 years.
Right. And on this panel are individuals who would profit by, because their views support the banning of alcohol in some form or fashion, or the restriction. And by the way, Mr. Infante said that everyone's been calling it ICC PUD, the Interagency Coordinating Committee on the Prevention of Underage Drinking. But he says you have to add the T, then it's thick pud.
That's a good one.
Yes, I mean that's like the sort of the I don't know, the Zeitgeist, the feeling in DC is, oh my God, we have to do something about alcohol, even if they don't truly believe it.
And that alcohol sales are down for first time in decades.
Right. So there are people who are motivated to get this done, and they're smelling blood. And I think they see what happened with basically
Cigarettes.
with an abortion. Like they saw there's an opportunity to catch the car, the moving vehicle. They don't know what's going to happen when they bite into the bumper. It's going to, cause some chaos. But there are people in our country that profit by creating this kind of chaos, right?
Sure.
So that's the sort of the winds blowing around are that, and then labeling.
Right.
We sort of touched on it with the Surgeon General, which at this point,
Different, though.
yeah,
Totally different methods. So the Surgeon General warning is a congressional law. It is not an executive action that can be changed at the whim of the next executive. It's not a rule that's inserted by the agency that manages that particular segment. It is a congressional law.
Right.
That you
So
have
that-
to have that.
little block. Just consider it a black box that isn't part of this discussion, but it is on the can.
So that will remain, and the causes cancer thing is, I think, a more difficult thing for them to get changed. But what they can do, and what is being proposed now, is nutritional facts being added on your alcohol beverage labels. The Brewers Association, knowing that eventually this is going to happen, and also knowing that many of our members agree that there should be more information available to consumers about the product in the package that they're buying. I think that is great. Like in many states, you will not find the alcohol percent on a package of beer
Right.
because it is specifically forbidden.
Because they felt at the time, or they used it as a way to, they thought that if you advertised that, people would be incentivized to drink even more.
Higher alcohol
Yeah.
beverages. So they said you cannot put it on there.
Right.
Then there are states that require it. And then there are states that don't say anything about it at all. So one of the things they want to do is make it mandatory that alcohol percent be listed on the label so people can make an informed choice. I think most of our members agree with that. I don't
Right.
see anyone saying, no, we want people to not know how much ABV this is.
Right, man. I want them to accidentally consume something they don't want for religious reasons, or for health reasons, or for
I'm being safe.
yeah.
Okay, I accidentally just drank a 8%, two 8% IPAs. I didn't even know they were 8%. I thought they were 6.
Yeah.
That's a difference.
Right. I accidentally drank something with tree nuts.
Well, allergy labeling is a whole different thing. That's another thing that they want to put the Big 12. Is that what it is? Big 12, Big 9?
9, 12, something
Yeah.
like that.
So you have to mention if there's dairy, if there's tree nuts, if there's peanuts, all other things.
Right.
So those will probably be mandated to be on the label. But the interesting one is the fat
Yes.
content and calories and other items.
Protein.
But it would be similar to a label. The Brewers Association said, that's cool. Let's do that as a QR code so people can QR code it and see the facts so that we don't have to take up the entire label. Well, the TTB rejected that out of hand and said it will have to be in this format, a white box with bold black lines in typeface this size, and it's huge. And it is going to take up a significant size on every alcohol beverage label, which will significantly influence what goes on that label beyond
Well,
the required things.
this will be a real test because that is more of a European style answer to the question. I mean, they are way ahead of us on servings, and I shouldn't say ahead. It's kind of regressive for our industry, and those kinds of labeling, and also there's lower alcohol. There is a push towards lowering the alcohol. There is also a stricter DUI situation happening in some European cities, and it's funny that we're moving to this European model when the populism of the time is not to
The opposite,
to,
yeah.
to lean that way. And we have
So weird.
somebody going into the presidency who literally is deregulate everything. I mean, I understand that he might have deregulated so much such that we aren't going to get our highway funds now here in Arizona is what I'm hearing from So there is, I mean, they put a pause on communications with agencies like the CDC and withdrew from national organizations.
World Health
So
Organization.
those seems to be contrary. Those actually seem to be contrary to putting
To
up.
what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
Well,
see
the
what
TTB
happens.
has a 90-day comment period. We don't know if after that 90 days and they make a decision and make new rules, how long the implementation would be. It generally is a 3-year implementation period. However, they could say it's 120 days.
Right.
That would be a pretty big, difficult thing for our members to absorb if you have all these cans in stock and now they're not compliant. You have to get rid of them.
Right. So who in the industry would have no problem with this and is probably for it because of those kinds of economic squeezes it would put on small breweries? Who might that be? Well, certainly people in the liquor industry, because that's a very exacting.
Oh, it will whack their labels too, though.
Yeah, but it's not like there's two issues. There's what it takes up on the label, or a few issues. There's the ability to already do this because they have the infrastructure and or in foreign markets and they're already getting the very specific numbers that are available on every batch because of their
Size.
and because of their their size and their place in the supply chain. They need to quickly understand where a pallet of something is, and if that's not as much of a concern for a local brewery to pull that product back. But very very large multinationals are like, it's no big
Sounds
to
great,
us,
yeah.
and so it's a question of how specific.
What are their tolerances in those numbers?
Right.
Do we have to send every batch to a lab and have it evaluated and then print new cans for every batch? Because
Right.
there is variance between batches on some of these things. Or can we use a mathematical formula,
Right.
putting in our COAs from our grain and figuring out exactly how much fat is in beer?
There is a small amount, but I don't know if it's even registerable on that label generally, unless you put peanut butter in it.
Yeah.
But even then,
So, anyways, those are some additional headwinds for our industry. True
Yeah.
fact.
yeah, and we still don't know what the impact of tariffs are, but the immediate things that come to mind are on the input side are continental grains and continental hops. So European style malts, which are already pretty expensive, but they're used for a reason. They're used to create to create a style and to create variation in your product from somebody else's. I mean, anyone can call a beer that's golden in color Helles, but to use the actual ingredients breeds or has an authenticity and a story to it. So you're limiting competition in that way, just to be distinct. Can stock, aluminum, stainless steel. I don't know. I mean, it's possible even cardboard. I have no idea where our cardboard comes from, right? In the supply chain. So that's all the packaging, all the ingredients.
Yeah.
What else?
I mean, here, the Canada has been left out of the discussion now, or excluded from the tariff discussion, saying we're not going to do that in Canada, which is where we get a lot of grain
yeah,
for American beer.
yeah.
A lot of it's grown in America, then taken to Canada to be malted, and then sent back.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why, but
Yeah, and again, who might be able to navigate these tariffs? Very large companies.
very large multinational organizations.
In fact, that's what they did during the. They shifted production, international production, to get around some of those, in the case of some wines, they were able to change the ABV to get around some of them because they were specific to how much alcohol you had. That's something that not everyone can sort of shift on a dime on.
If
So-
you're in the wine space, 2 weeks ago, a big change came to packaging requirements. On beer, there's not really a requirement that you have this size package. In wine and spirits, there is. Like,
Yeah.
you cannot have just a random size bottle. It has to be compliant with the rules. And there was a big change on that. There's also some rules about how much carbonation can be in your wine and cider. All those things were revised, and apparently they're pretty excited about it because it gives more options and allows them to put things in categories they weren't in before.
I think one of the big winners is cider in the C space, the convenience store space, because they can now use 19.2 cans, and I think that has an appeal. I mean, for sure, right, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. I'm having not beer, and I'm not having seltzer. I'm having something that has fruit in it and
Elevated presence, kind of. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know that it helps wine in that situation, but wine needs a lot of help, man. There's a lot of product out there right now that's just sitting. And to some degree, spirits. I mean, there's literally lakes full of tequila apparently sitting, and it's not going to be helped by the pandemic, or the pandemic wasn't helped by the pandemic either. The tariffs potentially, or even the threat of tariffs. I think the threat of tariffs has really kind of made our economy kind of herky-jerky. There's already people that priced it in, and now they're seeing, even if they don't happen, they price them in, and they're going to try to see if people will accept the price change. They'll just go, whatever, right? And we'll see. We'll see if all the hard-nosed thinking on gasoline and eggs was, if people would just forget about that too.
Hey, why don't you tell us what's going on with Arizona legislature since they just went back in session last Monday?
Yeah. I was hearing last year that there would be in that year there would be less election bills, and I was hearing this year there'd be less election bills. I just looked one of the committees, all 9 slots are election bills. So I don't know if that bodes well for our issues to get moving. We do have, and we'll shortly have, a bill number for our hemp beverage initiative. We just signed off on some language today. And like everything, there are a lot of moving parts in this, and there are more players in it than when we started. So there's a lot of compromise here. The important thing is, to me, is we get this in the market as a product, and we understand what we need to do to tweak it. You could make this thing die the death of 1,000 paper cuts if you held fast on every single moving part on it. And again, we feel that having it legalized will kind of be a foil for a mirror for what our industry has and what changes could make our industry better for our producers and consumers. So we'll see. It's a 2-step process. I have not yet gotten the commitment from our bill sponsor, our purported bill sponsor, on the language to lower the number of gallons that a brewery can make. I feel as though that will encourage more established businesses to get into brewing, those being restaurants. And if you recall, it was 5,000 gallons, but prior to that, and during the 90s, when everyone was excited originally about microbrewing, is what they called it then, you had to go through 10,000 gallons, which, some of these places were very small, high-end restaurants that wanted to make beer to presumably, obviously, to serve with their food, and sort of that would have been an opportunity to position beer in the same frame as wine in terms of capturing, the culinary culture, right? Do you know why wine and food are so tightly paired?
Tell me.
It's essentially because the main cooking schools are French-based cooking. Obviously, you can have Chinese-based cooking schools. You can have, all kinds of different cuisines that are featured, but the most successful is French, and it's French wine. So
Right. Makes sense.
So that's where everyone is educated. That's where all that discourse happens, and so beer is not a part of that. But it had an opportunity here. I don't think anyone had the vision to understand that there's no possible way that you're going to be able to sell that through your individual location. And To have
Sell
it
10,000. Yeah.
to have it pushed out in the market, presumably as a self-distributed product, because, and I can now understand maybe why distributors were signing everybody up that popped up, because it would, for them, it would be very disruptive for a bunch of people. I mean, sending your waiters out to deliver kegs, you know, I can understand why that might have been a tumultuous time for them, but like that time, that's not.
It's not how it fleshed out.
It's not
All
how
that-
it's
All that paranoia didn't pan out, and
Right.
it's not changing now.
right. So I think a lot of restaurants, a lot of bars, especially in rural Arizona, might choose to get into it. The equipment cost is going to be considerably lower at that scale. It doesn't have to be a revenue leader. It has to. In the same way we feel that adding food to a brewery's tap room makes it sticky and makes people stick around longer, having beer that a chef that you know or a restaurant you know built, I mean, I think that's the appeal.
Well, yeah, and it's culture for building their brand. Not that people are going to be like, oh, you got to go over there to have beer, but to
Right.
say, well, look at this, we're doing something different, we're doing something fun.
Right. It will encourage breweries that are kind of on the bubble in terms of the limited as it is now, to not push things out for sale, because they have to
Meet that minimum.
meet that minimum. You could barrel age things. You could make beers for blending. You can do those kinds of things. Our breweries with multiple tap rooms and restaurants, at that scale, it might be affordable to all the equipment they mothballed from their original location to
Bring it back up.
bring
and
it back
put
up.
in a new tap room and make some
yeah.
super limited batches there. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and it's not for me to say, it's not for the state to say, you can't possibly make money at that small amount. I mean, I think, you know, that was our thinking, and that's our thinking when we advise people about the current law. Like, hey, it's difficult to do. I'm not saying you can't. I mean, obviously, even if we as the guild says you cannot do that because you will not make money, that's just going to go right over.
That's not our call. You can do that and not make money.
I mean,
Plenty
even
of
if-
breweries do that much and don't make money.
All I'm saying is, even if we said it, wouldn't hold very much water.
Well, the other thing is like, what if, okay, there's a brewery opening at Safford.
Mm-hmm.
We learned that. That's pretty cool. And they're a barbecue and beer place. Sounds like fun. Can't wait to get down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's plenty in these small areas in Pine Top and Show Low.
Yeah.
Are they going to make the minimum? I would be surprised if they did 5,000 gallons, but you know, it's doable. But what about smaller locations than that? Like, what if you just have a really small town, you love your town, you like beer, and you want to make beer?
Or the seasonality that we have here in Arizona. We have a brewery that's located in an area that they're seasonal. Like, so when the weather is nice for a period, all of their seating is outdoors. All of their connected events and things to do are outdoors.
Right.
So they're not going to be in the middle of July.
They close. They
Yeah.
close doors for 4 months a year.
Right.
They just say,
Right.
no one's coming. I don't even want to be here.
I think there are more small towns in southern Arizona that would support this than necessarily northern Arizona, but it is definitely a rural thing. And it's not to say that there wouldn't be the opportunity in an urban environment. There are still vastly underserved places, and they're difficult to get to unless you live there. You just don't justify a drive across 1,000 square miles of Metro Phoenix Valley to experience necessarily. You know, and with our change in laws on alternating proprietorship, there's nothing to say they can't join forces to grow bigger. So I think it just gives us more options. And I know there are people who might in this industry see it as a threat. I think, you know, some of those people probably didn't remember that we changed it from. I didn't know this until we had Camille research it a little bit. I always thought it was 5,000. It hadn't been. It was 10,000. And, you know, when they passed that law, I'm sure everybody was like, great, let's pass that law. And for the period between when it was 10,000, it was moved to 5,000. The many years we lost a lot of businesses. They didn't really have an effective guild. They didn't have anyone like me or you to raise the flag that the next year and go, hey, this is really not feasible.
Right.
Again, I don't know what people were thinking then. I don't know if that was a conscious thing or if.
But that was in the original bill that established the number 3 microbrewery license, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and who did they ask?
Right.
No one.
Or just a few people who had, what they thought were reasonable expectations about what was going to happen in the industry. They didn't pan out that way, but they didn't have anyone managing that relationship and being able to get that feedback loop going. And, even with our organization, it wasn't something on our radar. It was members who asked, and it took a while for me to understand, and then took a while for us to convince our board who have different models, who might feel it as a threat or probably thumped their chest and said, no, we did it, so you have to too. Well, effectively, they didn't do it. Effectively, they had it changed on their behalf, whether they realized that or not. So we have that. We have a change, hopefully, to the festival license when an organization like ours or the distillers or the wineries can assemble groups of license holders, producers, breweries, wineries, distilleries, to sell to go. They can currently do that individually. And I think what we're missing here is, hey, man.
Hey, what's
go
up?
ahead. Yeah, it's no big deal. Air filter is arriving. It's documented.
And the thing is, if we're in the office and he shows up, there's plenty of times we're not here.
Yeah.
Poor guy comes by, knocks on the door, can't change the air filter. So when we're here, we got to let this magic happen.
Exactly. I feel like I'm breathing much more naturally already. They could already do that, but what we're seeing is there's the law, and then there's culture. The culture of this is we have a bunch of people who are excited about it. Maybe they're running events. I don't think there's a clear way to understand who's selling to go, who's not. Certainly, there's a tax issue. You have to pay tax on that. That's something that an organization like ours is going to be more attentive to. There has been pressure to have people sell much later than I think they want to. It's really hard for individual breweries to push back on an event when they want to support it. And so we've gone through a couple of years. We had our first foray into using it in Wickenburg, and we started to see the problems. And I think there needs to be an avenue for people who have more skin in the game. There was the argument, hey, you guys don't have a license, you don't have the skin in the game. Like, well, no, we can be sanctioned just like any other entity, fined, banned, arrested, criminally prosecuted if we don't properly execute on the festival as we do it.
The laws apply to everyone, not just license holders.
We, in fact, have more skin in the game because individual breweries or distilleries or wineries may make choices that are contrary to the spirit of the industry. They may say, you know what, I don't really care for that restaurant. I'm going to get a license to sell right across the street for them. And we'll have a little more sensitivity to that. And we don't want to compete with places that sell. We want to complement them. We want to bring products that they don't normally have. We want to curate that, right? We don't want to go head to head. We don't want to go into like the middle of the square in Prescott and say, let's just sell a bunch of products just to screw with these guys. It's not our intent at all. We want them to have good relationships with our members. We want them to choose our products. So, we would do something different. And, chances are we would want to have them involved so that, so if we do it somewhere adjacent to or further away, that would say, hey, we have the support of these businesses. They're going to come by, hopefully, and sample.
Right.
It's just something that we used to do, something that distributors do. They bring people in to sample. It's that kind of relationship that we want to build that we feel like individually those entities won't be able to pull off on their own. And also some of these festivals, I think we need to set a different example for them. And so right now, that's on the table as well. With those two things.
And are those two individual bills? Two separate individual bills with different sponsors?
I think they're going to be packaged as one, but we'll see. We have the ability to spin that off because there are some other initiatives that others proposed. We're not having a omnibus bill.
We're not having a
liquor
consolidated
liquor consensus bill.
Industry consensus bill. There we go.
And the reason being, I think we hinted at this. The reason being is we are focused on running the hemp bill, and we want to keep that team focused on that. And we don't want anyone to leverage their small issue to screw with the larger issue. And nevertheless, I think there was a feeling that we could still run our two issues and maybe some other issues on an omnibus bill because, and this was brought to forefront by somebody who we don't always see eye to eye on, but has in the recent past supported a lot of our initiatives and in fact supports these two things. I don't want to name names because we're in that period, but that person said, we really add value to each other when we run a bill together. We reinforce each other. We reinforce that we are not, this has been vetted and all that other stuff. This is important. It's been vetted. And I see that point, but I also, for practical reasons, we're going our own separate ways.
Yes.
So that's what's going on.
Hey, let's take a break.
Okay.
Okay. We'll be right back. Okay, hey, we're back.
We are.
Check this out.
I got a crispy.
I got myself a Hazing Arizona. Yum, yum. Nice hazy IPA. I mean, I do prefer the West Coasties, but
Yeah.
I don't dislike hazies.
Did you ever prefer hazies?
No.
I never did either. I don't know, man. I don't know what
I
it
like
is.
that bitterness, man.
I do too. So that's they're coming back, right? A little bit. I had some the other day.
Yeah, one thing that I saw is that IPA is still 49.4% of craft beer sold in dollars.
Yeah.
And that it was up 1.8% in dollar sales last year.
You would think that the people who prefer hazies because they feel they're not bitter would sort of not at some point would just be like, I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, maybe I want some. Maybe I don't want to drink this. I don't know.
Maybe I want something to clear all this stuff going on in this beer in my mouth. I want it to end so I have another opportunity. I don't know.
That's what choice is about.
Yeah. Okay.
People's
It's
palates change, their preferences change. So if you can meet those preferences where those people are at, good job.
I use this analogy a lot. There's something in robotics called the uncanny valley. You're familiar with this?
No.
It's for robotics. If you make the robot look too human but not quite human, it's creepy and scary and weird. So that's why you have very cute robots, very, beep boop bop boop,
Animal shaped,
right?
box or not humanoid shaped at all. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. The closer you approximate, and then once you reach that threshold, then I guess I don't know what happens. But
I'll tell you next year.
So I feel like there's an uncanny valley for a lot of things, and sometimes I'll have a beer. I'm like, it's a little sweeter than I want, and the only way to fix it is to eat it with a bowl of ice cream or drink it with a bowl of ice cream. Right? Classic stout. A pastry stout. I would drink any pastry stout, no matter how cloying, if I had a dessert with it.
Right.
Because it pushes it over the edge, and by contrast and together they become different. Right? So that's what I feel about hazies. It's just they're not quite an IPA. They're just kind of in this. They're kind of like
But if I was eating it with an orange,
maybe yeah, or if I was drinking it with an actual IPA. No. Yeah, it seems like an incomplete beer to me because I'm so used to tasting wort and hop teas to. Back in the day, it just seems incomplete to me.
is it kind of hop tea like, honestly?
Yeah, but I mean, I get why. It's just I'm saying for me, that's
Sure.
that's where I got here. So unless I get in a car accident and get amnesia, I'm pretty much going to stick to my guns on that one.
So we know that IPAs are a big trend. This is supposed to be the year of the lager, right? Or last year was, or the year before? Which year was it?
Well, I do think there are more lagers available. I
Right.
don't know how much the pull through is. I don't know what happens in other people's real lives, but I was at the Ash meeting yesterday, and
fun.
speaking of using other beers to clear your palate or whatever, there was a lot of Belgians being passed around, which I encourage, by the way. I mean, I know we're supposed to be promoting Arizona beer, but like, if there are going to be these tariffs on those products, get them now, get an understanding of them, and we can encourage our breweries to replicate those styles. I don't want them to be completely out of reach. Anyway, they were passing around goozes and some pretty thick, heavy stouts, and like someone brought the lager from Kirkland Costco, which is made by some brewery of note. It used to be Gordon Biersch.
Oh, Deschutes.
Deschutes, yeah, it's pretty good, as one would expect. So that was being passed around and lauded as
That's cool.
a very good Helles.
Great.
Approachable. On the warm shelf.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so that's what I feel about some of these hazes. They just don't, like, you're almost there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my wife loves them. She loves IPAs too, but I think she prefers hazies. So
Bonnie Bauman is more into lagers now.
hop water?
No.
What? Waters?
Lagers.
Oh, I think you said waters.
No. No. I spent a little over an hour yesterday with our website guy.
Yeah.
We had some progress on putting the features that we're looking for, moved some menu items around to make it a little more visually uncluttered.
Yeah.
And it was a great meeting. Very excited about that moving forward. Got some information. He did a demo video for me that I have to take a look at today to activate some more features. So,
Okay.
steps forward. It's great.
All right. I'll see if I can look at your notes and screw around a little bit.
Cool.
I am excited about it. I don't know what the whole rigmarole about how long it took, because I was at the Ash meeting and they were going over their website. And I'm like, I could see where they might want to move to that, because I think the administration out of it would be off the plate of a couple people there that I think are very proud of what they built, but I think it's very time consuming for them. So
10-4.
but we'll see. By the way, I got some clarity on where they're at with that club, some of which I'll share offline. But they're going to move forward with the air conditioner
That's amazing.
on the one side.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, and they got their original asking price was reduced for the unit was reduced by $5,000. So made it eminently budgetable.
Great.
So that's exciting for them. They went over their financials. They went over their projected year. They want to create a loyalty program. John Rudolph is now a lifetime member. We nominated him
Oh, that's wonderful.
back at the Oktoberfest where you were there.
Yeah.
And we voted, and he there was a question like, because you can't be on the board and be a lifetime.
Oh,
Or you can't get that. I don't know that you're not banned from going back to the board. They just don't want a current board member to be put on immediately. So it was unclear. Like, oh yes, he's not running. He left, so we couldn't even tell him. And then he wasn't at the Christmas party where they normally tell him. And then he was there, so that was a happy moment.
cool.
John Rudolph, guy's got his feet in a lot of different things.
Yeah, busy fella.
He's a what? I don't know what he does. He does
Project manager.
right. And he
maybe?
works on automation in conjunction with Intel
All over the world.
all over the world. And just on his side, he helps people like Doc at Pedal House to work on their automation, their solenoids and their temperature controls and all that stuff. Helped a number of people out as well. So
Absolutely, yeah. Let's see. We have the Celebration beer from Santan coming out soon.
Super Monk.
It's called the Celebration beer. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Super Monk was what they brewed. I don't know if they're naming it that. I'm not sure exactly what Super Monk is.
It's a Belgian IPA.
It was. I don't know if that's the current iteration or not. I'm just going to get some more info, but that will be coming soon to a tap room and brewery near you during Beer Week.
Right on.
And purchase of those kegs will also help the guild. Retailers who buy them at the discounted rate are encouraged to donate X dollars, whether it's per pint or per keg or whatever, to share that reduced pricing as an incentive to donate money to the guild, which is awesome.
Got it. Well, as soon as we get that information, I'm excited to try that beer and to tell the story
Yeah.
of why that's important. We're facing a do or die moment here with Beer Week and Strong Beer. We're kind of trying to get across the finish line from 2024. Strong Beer sets us up gives us an understanding of what we can accomplish in 2025.
Definitely. Yep.
Typically it's covered the whole bankroll, the whole nut, but there's always this period where we're left in the dark, whether people will come through. I mean, like, if you like what we do as an organization, if you want someone there to support breweries when they can't take time out of their day and completely learn how to lobby and connect with their legislators and get something going, we have all the tools to do that. If you like what you've seen over the last 10 years, then you just got to buy a ticket or convince a couple people who haven't gone in a while to buy a ticket. And that's...
Yes, beer is available all over the place, but the variety and the availability at this event is like nothing. Like, yes, people say I could just use my ticket price and go to my local bar and probably go through every beer on their board. That's true, but you're not going to have the variety and you're not going to have the opportunity to talk to the people that make the beer like you do today. So if you're just going on dollars per ounce, I can't really.
If that's the kind of thing we're going to use, then people can just come over to our office and give us. I won't even say 70. Give us $50.
Yeah, I will give you
and we will use that money for the same.
Yeah,
we'll use that money for the same mission that we use.
Sure.
So I mean, your dollars would be more effective if they came directly to the organization. But I can't tell you of another fundraising opportunity where you participate in funding and supporting the organization, and you get a bunch of beer and a wide variety of beer and see things
and a fun day,
people, and have experiences that you're
got
not
wrestling
have
back.
else.
Crescent Crown and their suppliers are bringing a pickleball court.
Oh, nice.
2, I think. It's 52 by 52 is the size, so I think that's 2 next to each other, where you can go and do pickleball.
Is Michael Jordan going to be there?
Yeah. A guy named Michael Jordan is going to be there. I think statistics say in a group of 5,000 to 7,000 people, you're going to find someone named Michael Jordan.
I actually knew Michael Jordan, and she was a female.
Oh, cool.
Her name was Michael Jordan.
There you go.
No, I don't even know. He's probably not involved. A bunch of NBA people, a bunch of other sports people are involved in the circuit of professional pickleball.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to have any professional pickleballers there, but someone named Michael Jordan will be
I
there.
mean,
you just have to find him.
Maybe because he kicked our sons' asses and he likes to golf, and maybe because of Barrett Jackson or Waste Management, he had a hangover. He's gonna.
Boy, that would be something. Taylor Swift might be there.
Yeah. It's within the realm of possibility.
It's a non-zero chance. Should we just call it a day then?
Yeah, unless there's let's see. Today we have anything coming up? I know Brouhaha is in Flagstaff this weekend.
AZ Taste Fest is going to be at.
Oh, someone's unlocking our door.
Oh, neat.
Hey.
Oh, right on. Hey,
yeah, right on.
Max. AZ Taste is going to be at Salt River Fields, and several of our members are going to be pouring their beers there. So,
Yeah.
that'll be cool.
I don't know what else is going there. There was something I thought. Oh, Homebrewers, Ash. They're doing a brew out at their clubhouse on the 29th. Is that
Fun.
Is that the weekend we're talking about?
That's
Yes.
next weekend. Yeah.
Oh,
This weekend is AZ Taste.
got it. Cool. That's all I got.
Okay.
Sorry.
Seems like we're
Double
we're
clutched
good
on
there.
that one.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Smash that subscribe button.
Cheers. Sometimes the beer finds you. And this is not a beer podcast. This is a podcast about beer.
Wonderful.